apparently, we got a video from Sydney Watson saying they are deliberately destroying our favorite franchises. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm like, at the end of the day, the God of War thing or so is still kind of like, why? What's the point of even making this? I would have preferred a prequel of God of War. What is it? What is it? Not the first God of War, at least for the new one, right? It would have been nice to see to get a prequel of how Kratos made it to Norse and how he, met his wife and everything like that. On-screen celebration 40? I don't even know what that is. What did you do? I don't even know what that is. As long as COD exists, you got the movement. You got the movement. Oh yeah, true. They haven't slowed down the movement on that game. I wanted to try. I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I have no idea what that is. I don't think I have that set up for that. Oh yeah, I know. But like I said, we talked about it. Time to move on, chat. I get it. You guys like talking about. Don't get me wrong. I like talking about it too. But I've already said my piece on that topic in general. It's time to talk about the whole, apparently the God of War thing in general. So apparently all the things we saw on Phantom Blade Zero was what has been side content. They have shown zero of the main content. That's actually pretty cool, to be honest.
They're destroying the things we love again.
Are we surprised?
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. Now, I'm sure like many of you, I have also seen all of the drama surrounding the upcoming God of War game. God of Wife. Mum of War? Broad of War? We'll work on it. Jokes aside, the actual game is called God of War Laufey? Lofei? I'm not sure how the God of War people want this pronounced, but
I thought it was
that's not how they say it in Iceland. I looked it up, so yeah, just pretend I can speak another language for a moment. At least the memes have been hilarious.
I remember this one.
Place your soiled garments within me!
But the more I hear about it, the more that I want to comment on this game generally, because I am actually a massive fan of the God of War franchise just in general. And it is regrettably another franchise.
Don't get me wrong, I played one of the PSP ones of the God of War games, but like I think Heavenly Blade kind of holds a special place in my heart because like she's a cool female badass character, main character, that was inspired by the God of War franchise. So it's literally not a actual gamer that's using the God of War IP. They're using the God of War likeness and the inspiration to make their own version, but make it a female version of it instead. So that's why I like it a little bit more, and it's actually original, to be honest. Actually, to be honest, I've never checked the actual score on that one. Let me check the score on that one. Let me see. Eh, 7.3. That's not too bad, to be honest. 79, almost 80. Yeah, okay. The Famitsu gave it a 30 out of 10. Yeah, because I personally had a good time. Yeah, 7.3. Yes, it's a 7, 8 kind of game, depending on where it is. Okay. I just had to know because I never looked up on the reviews and stuff like that, to be honest.
In a quite long list of franchises that has been gutted by modern gaming studios. I ask for more Daddy Kratos and I'm given this. I don't know, someone send help. If you've been following along, then you know that in early June 2026, Santa Monica Studio announced the next installment of God of War will not feature Kratos, the protagonist who has carried the franchise since the early 2000s, but instead his dead wife. No, not that one. The other one, the Norse one, Faye, who we learned about in the 2018 game, when Kratos and Boy go to spread her ashes in Jotunheim, and again in Ragnarok, where we actually see what she looks like, and there are constant references to her beating up Thor or whoever else. I am apparently the only person—
Yeah, so if there is context of her actually beating Thor and everything like that, I would totally love for there to be a prequel of the 2018 God of War game instead. People will never learn that Sony owns your IPs and will cuck you on the long run. People need to stop falling for this. I'm like, what do you expect? It's player base, you know? I'm like, these people will suck up anything, you know?
who viscerally hated—
But even then, at the end of the day, that game is not going to sell well because it's only exclusively on the PlayStation. You know, it's like it'll sell, but it's not gonna get its like return profit.
God of War Ragnarok, and I believe that's where all of this stupidity started, and quite frankly, I'm considering making a 2-hour-long autistic video about why that game sucked, but thankfully for all of you, that is not this video, so count your blessings. In this new game, instead of telling Faye's actual backstory, which is referred to in both Norse games, this storyline follows Faye into the afterlife, where we will encounter gods from other pantheons, which honestly is a pretty decent idea, but I want to do that as Daddy Kratos. As many of you have likely seen, this news sent the internet into a meltdown of sorts because, as many players have pointed out, when they play God of War, they want to play as Kratos, not his wife, and in my opinion, not even as his son, Ragnarok.
The chest. Not so easy, huh?
Why we spent hours upon hours riding around in Jotunheim as Atreus with a race-swapped Angrboda on a yak, I will never know. Those who have worked on—
Wait, they race swap Angrboda? What? 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 They race swapped her? Wait, that's what she's supposed to look like? That's wild to see that. In game, yes, the board dude, yeah. Chat, do you guys want to see the one from my gacha game, you know? The gacha game that I was playing or something? It's the shitty gacha game, right? Do you guys want to see how it like, you know, how she looks like in game or so? That's what she looks like. Like that's her like character design and everything, you know? Like she holds like she's on top of a she's kind of like on top of a thing or so, you know? I'm like, this is her splash art, you know? That's what she looks like, you know, in her splash art. You know? As you can tell. Very much of a difference, you know? That's why you don't give an inch code. They will ruin the whole IP. Yeah, but I'm not a heavy, like, I enjoyed the game, but I'm not that big of a fan of God of War. Like, I think they're nice. I think they're cool and everything, you know? Don't get me wrong. I like the pantheons and everything like that, you know? The whole Greek mythology and whatnot, right? But it's just kind of like, you know, I enjoyed it for the way how it is, you know? But, like, honestly, I'm not that much of a super mega fan, you know?
on this new game have said that its events run parallel to the timeline of God of War 2018 and Ragnarok.
But why?
So this picks right up after Faye's death. While Kratos and Atreus are off delivering her ashes, she's battling monsters in this other world and playing with a weird—
But why? What's the point of this? We have classic God of War anyways. I found Norse God of War boring in my opinion. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't played it yet, so I can't really say my own two opinions about it, so.
weird cube. I don't know.
I can't say
it's
my
probably
opinion
worth
about
mentioning too that not only are people upset about a game without Kratos, but they don't really understand why God of Wife looks sort of haggard and tired. This is not inspiring. It makes me hope she gets some sleep. Predictably, people are saying that Faye looks realistic and this is great, but I'm not sure who asked for that outside of the 400 activists who worked on this game. Of course, now we have the comparison saying that Faye has been deliberately uglified, but that is a topic for a whole other video that I actually have coming up, so stay tuned for that. Now, lots of people basically immediately chalked this backlash up to the rest of us hating women, not wanting to play as female characters, and just generally being whiny misogynists, I guess. But as per usual, I think that explanation is actually really quite lazy, as it has been every other time it's been levied against gamers. And I can say this at least from my vantage point, but I'm sure a lot of you guys relate to this.
We saw it in Discord.
None of this is about hating women. In fact, I like female characters. If I can play as one, I typically opt for them. And there are also countless games with terrific female lead characters that gamers generally have really, really liked and continue to buy and continue to play because those games are very good. And let's be real, female characters and women protagonists and women in general bring a lot of value to a lot of different situations. Like, I think we're really good at gift giving and doing nice things for the men in our lives, which is coincidental because Father's Day is coming up, and if you...
Even then, on top of that, I'm like, at the end of the day, women sell the product at the end of the day, especially like very attractive women, you know, because at the end of the day, the player base is mostly guys, you know, like actual fucking dudes that like actually play the games, you know, not the people on Twitter that complain about it.
Are struggling to think of a good gift for dad or for the man in your life? Why not consider a wallet? Like Exter Wallets, the sponsor of today's video.
Oh my
Listen, man,
God.
I love you. You're good at lifting things and opening jars, putting spiders outside, but carrying around wallets that look like this is a sin. I know you all think that you need to carry the weight of the world around in your pocket, but you don't.
Crazy.
And in fact, there is
Anyways.
at checkout. When a game is built around a compelling female lead who makes sense, is dynamic, has a good personality, good skills, and she's supposed to be there, gamers embrace it time and time again. The problem isn't women, the problem is this pattern where—
What the fuck? What the fuck? They made her gay? What the fuck? Yo, I'm fucking getting I got fucking whiplashed off of this. What the fuck? Oh my god, I love women as much as the next time or so, but what the hell, dude? I just got a whiplash off of this. Oh my god, dude. What the hell is this? Why? Why? What? Why? ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Por qué?
Western studios take an established franchise that worked because of its tone, storyline, gameplay, and so on, and then throw all of that into the sea to chase widespread appeal and whatever consultancy checklist is trending in California offices that week. It's that God of War went from being a hyper-violent series of games with a protagonist hell-bent on revenge who would spend his time dismembering and disemboweling gods to a crappy feminist fairy tale where the lead character looks exhausted and has a gel cube buddy and Marvel-level quips. Actually, this little part gets worse because apparently these little ribbons on the sword in the cube also talk, so that is tremendous.
How do I know I can trust her?
Why are we here? If only to suffer. I mean, guys, let's be real. When Domino's is even chiming in to dunk on you, saying that a God of War game with no Kratos is like pepperoni passion with no pepperoni, you know you've kind of screwed up. This event has left containment. In reality, nobody has asked for the plethora of other games that have been released recently or in recent years that have gender-swapped main characters or notable characters, or I guess prioritized looks to the exclusion of, though I don't know, actual decent gameplay and storytelling. And I really think that this new iteration of God of War generally kind of demonstrates this wider Western malaise, if you will, that is taking over the gaming industry. These games have exceptionally high budgets, and as a result, they are subject to the pressure of appealing to everyone for maximum money making, which inevitably dilutes them and destroys their lore and so on. Not to mention all of the leftism, either overt or subversive, the self-inserts, the terrible characters, the bad storylines, dialogue, and so on.
I'll be honest with you, the whole like lesbian representation and the female representation is so out of whack as someone who is like, who's a whammon or so, I hate the representation of them, to be honest. I just kind of want my badass women, That's all I gotta say. I just want my badass women back. Give me my heavenly sword girl back, Give that back to me. My prediction is 300 million for this God of War laundry game. You think so? You think that's how much it's gonna be? That is a pretty good estimate, to be honest. I don't think they're gonna make that money back, though. I will be honest with you. If it actually is 300 plus advertisements and everything like that, they're definitely not making their money.
Deeply, deeply unfortunately, God of War is just one title in a long list of titles. Even God of War's original developer, David Jeff, I've actually never said this out loud. Please don't believe me in the comments. He said that this new game looks uninspired and dull, claiming the franchise is dead because their formula has run out of momentum. He said that the game has lost the violence that drew players, the character of Kratos has all but been erased, and now there's no mythological roots, which is what the game has always been tied to.
Here's my point. If you got rid of God of War, like look at what the internet was asking for. A lot of people were saying, oh, well, maybe she gets to go into other pantheons. Okay, so do we get to see Chinese mythology, Egyptian, whatever, right? This just feels like Corey or somebody wanted to write a fantasy story, but you've lost the gore and the violence that made the first game. You've lost the character. You already lost him after 2018 because he changed so much he wasn't Kratos anymore. Now you've lost the identifiable mythology of it. You've lost me with the cube. It's in the little Disney character at the beginning. This seems like just a fantasy. Like if they would have taken God of War off the title and you didn't know the God of War story and there wasn't Kratos, it was just a story about this goddess who dies, you would not be talking about this game.
He pointed to Ragnarok as the visible start of the decline of God of War, and I have to agree.
Damn.
I hate this game with a passion.
Damn.
Like I said, God of War...
That's crazy. That's funny coming from this dude, since he kotoed these idiots in the first place. Well, he backpedaled anyway, so he's already, My guy, we don't need always gore and blood in stories. Technically, he shits on the God of War 2018 too. He just hates Kratos not being the OG Kratos. I'm like, it makes sense. He was the one that created it anyways. At the end of the day, that was his baby. I'm like, literally, like, someone taking away your baby. At the end of the day, you have your personal rights of saying that like it's just not how it is. So I'm like, God of War Ascension was definitely not well received. If I remember correctly, back then, God of War Ascension was just kind of like, it was okay, but it wasn't really like super great or anything,
is one of my favorite series, and it absolutely peaked in 2018. I think the only saving grace is that I want Kratos to crush my head with his biceps. I am sorry. We have established on this channel that I have a thing for these older bearded men. Like, just let me live! Anyway, I say this knowing that a lot of OG players didn't like the 2018 game, but from a storytelling perspective...
Nick, there are different people who like different things at the end of the day. Just because you don't like it personally doesn't mean the other person next to you will not like it at the end of the day. So, like I said, different tastes for different people at the end of the day.
I think it was really well done. And again, I know a bunch of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I think things really started majorly going off the rails with God of War Ragnarok. I really looked forward to this game, and I was so disappointed. And then when I started looking into it, I realized why it was so bad. The developers admitted that they crammed 2 games into one. This was supposed to be a trilogy, not a...
I'm just tired of seeing games to take their main protagonists, badasses, and turn them into an old, worn-out OG Kratos literally refused to die and escaped Hades to what we have now. Yeah, like I think I only played like one of them, but like I said, I only played one of the games, but I only played the demo. I didn't play the full game. Like I said, never really had the money to play the full game.
I don't know if there's a word for this, but not a two game thing, which made the whole thing feel so rushed and so messy. They obliterated both Kratos and Freya's personalities to force a reunion that never would have taken place. I will die on this hill. They did the race swapping, which we all absolutely love. This makes complete sense. This is terrific.
That makes no sense for her to be like that when literally Norse characters are basically, in the whole Norse mythology pantheon, if I remember correctly, I think they're all white, right? Am I like misremembering or so from history class on pantheons? That's why they should honor Kratos by killing him off like Joel. Okay,
Every single puzzle in the game has some character telling you how to solve it, which is just like, shut up! Just shut up, just let me figure it out, just shut up! Whoever was working on this game clearly felt that the franchise should continue moving in this direction, and now we're here. Although most people don't seem to agree, I do know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. Ragnarok basically erased everything that made Kratos Kratos and set up the future of the franchise, one that would head in a very sweet baby ink direction. Horrible. But ultimately, and color me crazy here, I think that replacing the main character in any game is a bad idea. For me, it was bad enough having to play as Atreus in Ragnarok.
Atreus, you are getting better. Faster.
I'd even be better than you one day, huh?
And now we have an entire game subbing in a character that we just don't really care all that much about. Also, the developers can high-five each other about centering women, or whatever, which follows the...
It just would have been cooler if there was a prequel, of like Kratos journeying to, I would love to know the reason why he went to the Norse, or like what made his decision to go to the Norse mythology pantheon, right? Or just the pantheon in general, to be involved in that. Like, I wanted to know, how did he met Faye? Apparently Faye actually fought against Thor, like I want to know that stuff, in general. And then have at the final ending or so, have them be together. I think that'd be a lot more better, how she fell in love with Kratos, or how Kratos fell in love with her, like, I don't know. I think it'd be a better, like, so much better way of, like, of a storytelling than, like, whatever this is, to be honest. There's a comic book prequel, I think, for God of War 2018. Well, then fucking make a video game out of it. The source material is right there, at least. You could use it. Of course, you can use some creative liberty here and there, but, like, they could have done that instead.
Unfortunate progressive pattern of replacing male lead characters with shallow female leads that nobody asked for. Instead of Jin Sakai, we got Atsu in the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei, and having played Yotei, I can tell you that Atsu was not a good lead character. Not because she was a woman, but because her personality left so much to be desired. And that's truly putting it mildly.
It's not just that in general, but the other, well, story writing, of course. But even then, on top of that, we've seen some reviews specifically about this game in general, and they literally said that, like, if you played Ghost of Tsushima, you've already basically played this game. There's nothing really that, like, makes it super stand out to other things. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it's a fine game, but, like, it's still the same thing from the old one. Nothing like super revolutionary change from the first game to this game. I don't really consider this the second game because it's really not the second game. So, yeah.
When I played this game, I thought, yes, it is beautiful, and yes, there's some really fun
if you want to make money,
yeah,
you should.
But I kept complaining the whole time that Atsu was super unlikable and just super inconsistent, and I went into this, just by the way, completely prepared to like it. I didn't have any sort of preconceived ideas about hating it. The game itself was fine. Like I said, it was still very beautiful, but god damn it, Atsu, make sense as a person! Instead of Joel in The Last of Us 2, we got Abby, and then had to play...
Holy shit, dude. I did not play The Last of Us 2. I did see PewDiePie play The Last of Us 2. I shit you not, that shit was funny to watch, I'm not gonna lie, to be honest. That shit was really fucking hilarious to see.
Is her for parts of the game after she murdered our protagonist. And look, as a narrative choice, that is really a choice. And it is one that I don't think sat particularly well with a lot of gamers. People even now still hate her with the fire of 1,000 suns. Maybe that was the point. I don't know. Some people are even upset that Geralt in The Witcher will be replaced with Ciri in the upcoming game, although this breaks law and there are some significant issues with this decision. You know, at least Ciri is known to fans. You know, she's got playable sections in The Witcher 3 and she is central to the books, so at least there's that. I admit I am not super across this topic because The Witcher is actually a game that I have never really gotten around, so that is all I will say about that.
Yeah.
When I say gotten around, I mean I haven't played through any of them, so judge me all you want. But as many others have pointed out, this would be like replacing Lara Croft in Tomb Raider with a Pedro Pascal lookalike. No, thank you. This is the stuff of nightmares. One of the problems with this new God of War backlash is that a lot of the smooth brains who are mad at us for being mad about this are just not capable of seeing the nuance in why we're so upset, both broadly speaking and specifically about this game. Beyond not wanting Kratos to be replaced, like I said, most people are totally fine playing as a female protagonist, but not when that female protagonist shows up to check some sort of inclusivity box.
Yep.
And in my opinion, that's really what this feels like here. This wasn't made because it's integral to the story or even because it's particularly interesting. It really feels like it is a spin-off game meant to pass the Bechdel test so that devs can get backpats from other ideologues in the industry and create—
I can't wait. I can't wait till this game flops financially and then just starts laying off some of those people in the devs, you know? That's all I gotta say. You know, they gotta lay off, they gotta skim the fat, you know? There's too many, you know, woke people over there, you know, causing problems with the God of War franchise. So, you know, Santa Monica studies needs to get chopped. They need to skim the fat. You know, I think these studios are way too bloated in my personal opinion. Like they need to definitely like skim the fat 100% because I don't know. For me, it just feels like they hired way too many people, way too mentally ill people during the COVID era, and they need to get rid of them in my personal opinion.
Even more excuses to finger wag at the gaming community. For those
What
who
if they
don't
keep the
know,
woke people?
the Bechdel test—
Well, if they keep woke in it, you know, they'll soon end up like Bungie. They'll end up like Bungie and soon they'll get absorbed into the Sony ecosystem and, well, it is what it is at the end of the day, so...
is a way of evaluating women's representation in films and other forms of media, which does have the feminists in the gaming community actively hoping Kratos doesn't make any kind of appearance in the new game. Why are you even here? Go play The Sims or something. I mean, yeah, who wants God of War with the actual God of War? What a stupid desire. Who's even asking for that? Of course, there's obviously no real way for us to know definitively what guides the actions of these Western gaming studios, but we can assume, I think, and we can also do some pattern recognition.
We'll see if they still have the sex scene or so, or are they gonna make those characters ugly as well, those female goddesses in God of War? We'll see if they actually do or not.
It becomes even more obvious what's going on here when we compare these games to those made by developers in Japan, Korea, and honestly even China. I played Wukong. I know what it's all about. There are lots of examples to choose from in the Western sense. You've got Mass Effect Andromeda, Horizon Forbidden West, Ragnarok Forspoken, there's so many of them. And beyond the gender swapping element, so many modern games take a specific franchise built around specific lore with a specific tone and specific protagonists. They then replace or alter the lead, give us infinity cutscenes, slow the combat for weighty animation, add endless unnecessary dialogue, inject quirky companions who won't shut the hell up, give us actual dialogue that relates to bizarre progressive ideological talking points.
I'm like, the problem is that, like, you know, they try to make their own game. I mean, Forspoken was it, and it failed pretty miserably, in my personal opinion. I'm like, the only way for them to actually make money, quote unquote, money or so, right, is to use the IP of a well-known established IP like God of War, you know, Ghost of Tsushima, the Nathan Drake or so from that one game that I completely forgot what's it called or so. And they just, you know, and they just wanted to, they just gender swap them and then just kind of like, you know, oh, look at this. Wow, look at this. Oh, new story, blah, 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 blah. But we all know for a fact that if they try to sell that game to you without using the IP itself, it probably wouldn't sell. Probably at all, to be honest.
So, I'm non binary.
And we're supposed to think that all of this is good and normal and fair. Who thinks that? They would like to talk to you. Japanese, Korean, Chinese devs like From Software, Capcom, or Team Ninja keep delivering focused, respectful evolutions or new IPs that respect what gamers like and actually want. I guess it's because they like money, I don't blame them. Elden Ring, Resident Evil, Stellar Blade, these games continue to crush because they prioritize the actual gaming experience and not the desire to self-insert or tick boxes on a corporate checklist. This is crazy. A lot of these games have female protagonists and notable female characters.
That's
Isn't
true.
that insane? The sweet baby ink effect is unfortunately written all over modern Western games, and on a long enough timeline.
Just letting you know or so, they're not dead. The Sweet Baby Inc. There's a new rebranding of them, and basically it's called something about Bridge or something like that. So just letting you guys know, I got informed or so from one of you guys that told me specifically that like they've kind of like basically like rebranded themselves and they're called Bridge. Like it's like an acronym. It's an acronym, Bridge. Bridge is an acronym. If I remember correctly. But yeah, as of at the moment, they are pretty as what I've heard or so, you know, they're the ones who unfortunately threatened Kershey with her life and everything like that. So they are pretty dangerous people, I have to say so myself. And I haven't done my full research on it yet because I haven't had any time as of recently, but that is the matter at hand that I know so far. So take it how you will, and you can do your own research on that.
More and more titles are going to nuke themselves by listening to activists rather than gamers. The thing is, as far as God of Wife goes, Broad of War goes, the rest of the gaming community doesn't care what sex the protagonist is, they care why the protagonist is. And if the why for this isn't story related, then it really does feel modern day politics related. The funny thing, at least to me, is that I would actually...
So Bridge is the first independent trade group for a global marketing industry dedicated to turning inclusion into growth. Its functions are as both a community and an acronym: belonging, representation, inclusion, diversity, gap, and equity. I see.
Love to play as a female goddess that's decked out with all sorts of cool powers and storyline and skills and all sorts of stuff. And I don't even care what pantheon it comes from. Greek, Roman, Egyptian, I don't care. Just as long as she's very cool. But I would much prefer to do that with a new character or new characters and new story and a new series.
Yes.
I don't need something that already exists to get nice and twisted up and messed up in order to achieve that. You know, and weirdly, what we're kind of discussing here is the exact same problem that Hollywood has. It takes existing IP, it takes existing franchises, series that have been around for quite a while, and it creates something new out of them,
Yes.
twists them up, messes with the lore, messes with the characters, upsets OG fans, and then goes, well, actually, all of you were at fault for being terrible racists. We will get endless sequels and prequels and addition to something that already exists, but they won't give us something new. And I get in the gaming world it's a little bit different, but it sort of still follows the same path with relation to all of this. I do think eventually there comes a point where something has been...
No, as in like, if you're gonna do a God of War game, but like do it in a different pantheon with a different point of view. You know, just leave Kratos how it is. It's the end of it. You know, that's the end of, you know, the God of War Kratos story himself. Just make a new male protagonist in a different pantheon or something like that, you know?
Explored enough, and it's okay to move on. I don't necessarily think that's the case with God of War. I think that there's maybe a game or two left that could be explored and maybe some interesting things that could come out of that, but certainly there are other franchises where I think it's okay to put them down, and I think it's okay to stop trying to extract more out of them that doesn't actually exist. In the end...
Because at the end of the day, right, Dubstep, you did say or so that console players don't play new IPs or like new IPs in general, so I'm like, that's the best thing I can recommend for using the God of War IP name, is to just do it in a different pantheon with a different protagonist and different characters. I'm like, you have Japanese pantheon, you got the Chinese pantheon, you got the fucking Egyptian pantheon, you got the Norse pantheon itself, without Kratos, of course, if you take him out. I'm like, you got the Mayan pantheon at the end of the day, you know? So, oh, that is risky. They want that God of War title for the safety net. Well, that's what I'm saying. They could just use it, but use it a different, you know. Give me an Asura's Wrath remaster. That would be pretty crazy to have that, in my personal opinion. I will say this: this God of War is planned long ago, a trilogy along with the 2018 and Ragnarok.
With relation to this new God of War game, like I've said, none of this comes down to not wanting a female protagonist, not wanting to play as female characters, or hating women. That's not what's going on here at all.
Yeah, that's not the subject that we're talking about.
It's that even for someone like me who likes female characters and will choose to play as female characters, having a game called God of War based around a character called Kratos, who's not in a new game that's part of a series called God of War based around a guy called Kratos, doesn't make a lot of sense. And it doesn't make somebody like me want to play that game, and I'm sure that a lot of you feel that way too. If the creators here wanted to pursue a game like this, I think they easily could have, but I think doing it under the God of War umbrella was honestly a massive, massive misstep. Now, on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Extra using the link in the description. They have actually been a long-time supporter of this channel as well, but leading up to Father's Day, if you have a dado or a man in your life who is looking for a new wallet, they're actually such good quality, so I 100% recommend absolutely checking them out. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this, where you're looking at this game and you're thinking, what are we doing? Why are we on this merry-go-round?
Yeah,
why are we getting
I
a
agree with
game
you.
like this out of a franchise like this? Are you on the other side, where you think this drama is so stupid and the game looks fine and you're gonna play it and you think it's gonna be good? Do you think that there's sort of a habit forming here where we take gaming IP and we expand it in a way that gamers don't really want? Do you think that that's a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
I don't mind expanding it, right? Like, I don't mind, like, if they, like I said, like, right, the best way that you can do, or so imagine just be able to do like one of these other pantheons in the God of War universe, you know? I think it'd be really pretty cool, in my personal opinion. Yeah, remember how Sony is right now. I bet Sony would deny any projects outside of God of War unless it's a live service. That is very true. They are pretty upset or so that their baby Concord died, you know, so fast. I need an Infamous remake and another Killzone game. You're not getting any of those ever, to be honest. You're not getting any of those. You think that's where the money is at? No, they want live service games. That's what they want. Sony America wants live service games. That's what they want. So yeah, but overall, you know, I'm like I said, I don't mind there be like different perspectives or so in the God of War franchise, as in, like, you know, from different pantheons. I think it'd be pretty cool, in my personal opinion, to be able to see, like, you know, the Mayan pantheon. I think the Mayan pantheon would be a pretty cool thing to see, in my personal opinion. You know, the Egyptian also piques my interest too. Like, you have that as well. You know, you have the Roman pantheon too as well. I don't know if the Roman and the Greek are in the same in the God of War franchise. I know it's just Greek gods, but I would love to see the Roman gods show up as well. You know, after hearing what Kratos has done or so to the Greek pantheon, I think that'd be pretty cool in general. I want a Jack 4, damn it. You're not getting a Jack 4. I'm like, you got the Hindu pantheon, you got the Japanese, you got the Chinese pantheon, you got the what is it, Celtic pantheon, you know? I'm like, you have so many different types of pantheon. Also D3, you're never getting a D3, okay? All right. These people at Sony need to get out of the kitchen. They burnt it all. No, they're not gonna get anything. Sony America won't be doing any of that stuff. So I'm like, what are you expecting, you know? They'll probably be making that. They'll probably be making new IPs from those old games in general, because they're like they said, Capcom has already said that they close down one of their projects, their big projects or so. Or it was Sega. I don't remember if it was Sega or Capcom. It was one of those two specifically, but but they are making older games in general, so why not? We got Crash, we got a new Spyro, we got a new Rayman. I want Jack. Brother, do you know who owns that IP? Once you find out who owns that IP, you'll understand why we won't get that. So, you'll make sense. Never forget what they destroyed. I'll take a look at it in a moment, but yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the God of War, what they did specifically, because it was just kind of like, it was just kind of like whatever anyways. And it was just mostly cutscenes. There wasn't really much gameplay in general. So it's just kind of like whatever. That says really a lot about you, about the studio itself, when they're not showing a lot of gameplay and it's just mostly cutscenes. Remember, it was just mostly cutscenes, chat. Let's just remember this, okay? It was not really, there was not much gameplay happening there. I'm like, they had like, you know, 1, 2, 3 battle scenes, you know? That was kind of like basic, well, actually technically 2, because technically the 3 and the 2 are combined together because it's in the same area, so yeah. But we'll see what happens when this game comes out. We'll see how much money it sells. Let's see if Sony starts posting the numbers of how many copies they've sold. Hopefully they sell a lot, you know. So anyways, that's the end of the video, and peace.